If you are someone who has been thinking or are planning to start a business, then you must know these 5 things before you get into business. The first and foremost important thing is you need to have an absolute clarity about your financials. That means the financial clarity and stability. So for the next 6 months to 1 year, I personally see it like a 1 year thing, whether you have your survival amount in place. That means, see, when you go into a business, there is uncertainty when the money is coming in. Okay, depending on what kind of products and services, what kind of systems you have, the clients, etc., right? So you need to keep a buffer of having a cash flow or a cash reserve so that all your survival expenses are taken care of. Now, what are survival expenses? It is typically all your bills, if you have rent, any kind of loans or EMIs that you are paying, your grocery, your food, your other expenses that are of necessity. So that's your survival expenses every month. So let's say in a month, your all these amount to around 45,000 a month or 50,000 a month, then you need to multiply it with 6 months time, and then you need to have that reserve. So 6 months is the bare minimum time you can keep it, but I would still suggest go for 1 year. So 50 into 1, that means 12 months. So you need to have that much reserve so that you can focus on the business or the things at hand that you want to begin with. That is very, very important, because I have seen a lot of people jumping into some sort of business or some sort of monetizing my passion, etc., with a lot of enthusiasm, which is great. But without having any practical clarity, without having any practical backup, you cannot do that. If you have responsibilities, if you have expenses that you need to take care of, then this point is the most crucial one. Okay. The next point is your mental and emotional clarity and stability. Yes, it is an unspoken aspect that you need to have a strong mindset, a stable emotional intelligence. When I say emotionally stable, that means there would be up and down. There would be a lot of things that will not go as per your plan, that will not go as per your expectations. Things will just pop up and it is going to drain your energy. Are you ready for all those things? And if these kind of things happen, how long can you keep on going? Do you take everything personally? Do you just, sit and cry and give up? Or are you a person who goes into a loop and never comes out of that, who just goes into the shell, close himself or herself out, and you refuse to bounce back? If that is the case, then it is not the right time for you to get in the business, because if you are getting in a business, you have to have an appetite of taking risks. You need to have an appetite where you have a mental and emotional clarity and understanding that, okay, even if things go this way or that way, I will be able to take care of my emotions, because there would be people, there would be judgments which you might not like, and everything, if you take personally, then it is not going to go anywhere and it's not going to help you, and you will find yourself depressed. You will find yourself, all the time having these struggles emotionally, which you won't be able to share, you won't be able to get help, and all these things will happen. So bottom line, are you in a place where you feel that yes, you can manage your emotions and thought process and everything in a very mature manner? Then yes, it is time for you to start. The next aspect is the legal and documentation work. Now, this is something I've seen a lot of people, either they don't know about it or they take it very casually. Well, whatever kind of business you are starting, whether it's a product or whether it's a service-based business, it does not matter. You need to know the legal aspects of it, the domain you are working on, the kind of compliances it needs to have, the kind of registration it needs to have, if it requires any kind of trademarks, etc., if it requires some sort of licenses, some sort of permissions based on the area that you are, region, state, country, whatever it is, are you abiding by the legal aspects of it? The documentation work which are required before you start the business, is it in place? The contracts that you will need if you're dealing with other kind of vendors, the people, etc., are those in place? These things are not easily that people take it seriously. And these things are something which are very, very, very crucial, very sensitive. And if you do not take care of these beforehand, later on, you pay a big price for that, both mentally and money wise as well. So ensure, if you are getting into a business, again, products or service, depending on whichever domain it is, you need to have a good clarity as to what are the legal aspects of it, what are the documentations needed for it. So for that, you need to have a good person as a CA, as a lawyer or an advocate or somebody. You can go and counsel with them, you can go and ask them these questions, and you can always have a good information beforehand so that later on you don't have to suffer. The next most important point is whether you are starting this business yourself, or specifically if you're starting this with somebody else as a partnership, or let's say you are having deals with other people like on a contractual basis, etc. Are you guys on the same page? Typically, this goes for partnerships, okay? Are you guys on the same page in terms of values, ethics, belief system, way of doing things, etc.? Even if you both are very different people, no problem. But are you guys on the same page in terms of the vision, in terms of the results that you want to achieve with respect to this business? If you are not on the same page, there is a lot of difference, there are ego clashes and this and that, things will go for a toss and you won't have a business that you would expect it to. For that reason, you need to be very clear at the beginning, have a very honest and open conversation about it, and most importantly, please make an NDA or a contract. It does not matter if you guys are relatives, if you guys are friends, etc. A contract is very important. Putting down the expectations, putting down the deliverables, and both of you or the people involved need to be very clear as to what are your roles and responsibilities, where are the boundaries, what are certain things acceptable, what are certain things not acceptable, okay? And of course, if things does not work properly, what is the exit strategy? All these things need to be clarified and be very much thorough with at the beginning before you get into the partnership, before you start the business. Because once again, when you get into the business, your job is to focus on growing the business, focus on the clients, to serve them the best, right? But when you get into your own, when you get entangled or involved in your own back-end stuffs, which you should have taken care before starting the business, then it's a simple waste of your time, energy, and money as well. So these are very important before you start your business. And the most important point, another aspect, is the practical things. Now, what do I mean by this? Anything that is related to the business. So let's say you are launching a product or a service and you actually don't know how the market is going to react on a big scale, or what is the feedback of people, etc. So what you can do from the practical point of view, you can give yourself a timeline, launch the MVPs, give yourself a time frame, like a pilot project or something like that, and test it out. Duration, the MVPs, whatever you are providing, the services, the products, ensure you take the feedback from the people, from your customers, what they are liking, what they are not liking. Based on it, do your research, list down the stuffs that are working, list down the stuffs that are not working. This is important. If you do not listen to what your target audience is saying, if you do not listen what your customers are saying, you will not have a business very soon. Because ultimately, the companies, the business owners, the people who listen to the unspoken behavior of your target audience, your customers, and listen to what the customers are saying, they quickly modify and change things what are required for the best interest of the business, not what you personally like or don't like. It does not matter, because ultimately you are trying to solve a problem for your customers. If that is not getting solved, then feeding your ego or your illusion does not make any sense. So keep these practical things in mind in terms of testing out the market, doing the thorough research, taking the feedbacks, and of course, modifying as it is required in your business. So remember these 5 things, very, very, very crucial before you jump into a business. Your energy, your passion, your enthusiasm, experience, everything is great. But when you think about these practical aspects, if you don't take care of beforehand, then you will have to involve a lot of time, energy, money into solving these things later on, which you might not like. So hope this helps, and if you have any questions, do let me know. If you have still not read my book, that is 7 Steps from Shame to Being Back in the Game, go to Amazon, grab the copy, and it's a very good gesture if you can gift this to somebody who needs it. So see you soon in the next video. Till then, namaskaram.